Angela Bean, you know, is a Madison Forum member, and she's involved in so many things to preserve and protect the Constitution. She's just indefatigable. She has so much energy, and we appreciate all the work that she has done. And she's going to be speaking on what we need to know about for ballot referendums before you cast your vote. So a lot of good information here. Please take notes and welcome Angela Bean. A round of applause.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank Michael for letting me address this topic at the Madison Forum, and I also want to thank the members of the other organization I am with, Restore and Preserve the Constitution. These 4 ballot referendums came to our attention in that group about a month ago. Most of us are familiar with amendment number 1 on the ballot, the Opportunity School District. But the other 3 took us by surprise, and our immediate knee-jerk reaction was, oh no, to all of these. But we knew we needed to peel away the layers of the onion, read the legislation, and understand, really try to dissect what could be unintended consequences. Many times our very well-intended legislators, you know, God bless them, we're good people. We want to help people. We want to do good things. But at Restore and Preserve the Constitution organization, we don't believe we need to amend our state constitution in order to achieve some of these goals. And when I share with people, if you go vote and you get into that ballot box and you see amendments, constitutional amendments being proposed, if you're not familiar with them, vote no. Don't take a chance that your yes vote will come back to haunt you later and you'll be disappointed in yourself. And don't leave it blank. Definitely vote no, because amending our Constitution, when it's a bad amendment, is almost impossible to change. Repealing bad law, we can do that much easier. So we have to be very conscious of our Constitution when it comes to these issues. Now, the very first one we're going to see on the ballot, most of us are familiar with, we're seeing television ads, pro and con, to the Opportunity School District, Amendment number 1. And I am going to read the ballot language so that this is being recorded. People will understand what they will see. Shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended to allow the state to intervene in chronically failing public schools in order to improve student performance? Well, of course, most people, if they're not familiar with the amendment, they're going to see this deceptive ballot language. And it's interesting that the language never reflects what the true intent is. And it makes you wonder if they're doing that intentionally to get the government's position implemented. This has really nothing to do with improving student performance as much as it is turning control from our local school boards over to an appointed council. The Opportunity School Districts will be run by a newly created school superintendent position that is appointed, and the recently created Charter School Commission for oversight, all unelected, who will be managing over $7,000 per student tax dollars. Now, our local school districts, when the school is taken over, and it will be involuntary on the part of the local school district when this happens, all of this tax revenue that the state provides that local school district will be taken away. They won't have that in their budget to use as they see fit for their entire school district. But local property taxes also will not be going towards this. But taxpayers need to know the state will make up the difference of the $7,000 plus per student from your statewide taxes. So taxpayers need to be concerned that we'll have an appointed council now overseeing our tax dollars for public education. Many people will tell you that the problem in our public schools, the reason they are failing, probably dates back to the 1960s when the federal government took over control of our schools and our local parents and teachers lost the ability to determine how and what they wanted their children taught. So we have to understand that the problem is the state control, the federal control. This will give the federal government complete control of our children, and we will have no say-so in it any longer. So for those reasons, I do encourage a no vote on this. We don't need to amend our Constitution to create and go down that slippery slope of a non-elected council managing our tax dollars. And this is exactly why we need to be concerned about that. We can achieve better schools and improve student performance if the state will get out of our community schools. That's the direction we need to go. The next amendment I want to talk about, and these are a little bit out of order, but Amendment 3, the Judicial Qualification Commission. Now, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't up to speed with this, and if I had gotten into the ballot box and read the language of this, my head would have been spinning. But there are 2 points in this language that may have caused me to vote yes for this. So I'm going to read the language for you. Shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended so as to abolish the existing Judicial Qualifications Commission, require the General Assembly to create and provide by law for the composition, manner of appointment, and governance of a new Judicial Qualifications Commission, with such commission having the power to discipline, remove, and cause involuntary retirement of judges. Now, I feel like at this point, our heads are going to be spinning so badly that all we're going to see is, well, yeah, we need a commission because we've got a problem in our courts. We need a commission to manage that. And people won't realize we already have one in place. But so they'll keep reading. Now we're going to require the Judicial Qualifications Commission to have procedures that provide for due process of law and review by the Supreme Court of its advisory opinions. Well, that sounds good. Okay, we need commissions to have this additional review. But this last part is what's really troublesome to me, that people will probably not understand. And allow the Judicial Qualifications Commission to be open to the public in some manner. Now, it's my understanding that right now, this commission is totally open to the public. We can sit in on the hearings, we can ask for the transcripts, review what the proceedings are, we can know who's being charged with misconduct. Under the new enabling legislation that goes along with this commission, all that transparency goes away. The part where it says in some manner, legislatively, all these proceedings are going to be determined and classified as privileged. We will not have access to know who's being charged with misconduct, how the proceedings are going, what the charges are. In such manner means that when they are finally found guilty of misconduct and are removed from the bench, at that time the people can know what happened. So we have a commission now that's going to be completely under the cloak of darkness. And because of the way they're changing the appointments of the commission, many people are concerned that it's now going to become a politically appointed commission. Now, I talked to a state senator yesterday, and he said, well, the good news is the Senate will have to approve all of these appointments. Well, the bad news for me as a citizen is that our governor is controlling our legislative body. So all of these appointments will more than likely be under the control of the governor, the Speaker of the House, the Senate Pro Tem, and other members of the legislative body who will control their actions. And in fact, that's what, according to the commission now, is the problem with the process, is that there's too much influence coming down from these people in their decision making. And when the judges that these folks like are being disciplined, the commission is having some challenges. So we believe that amending our state constitution on this one should not be done. We need to allow our General Assembly to review the issues and come up with a better solution for the challenges that our commission is facing so that we maintain transparency for citizens. That's most important. Now, I'm going to go to number 4 next because to me this is a real easy one. The excise tax on fireworks sales. I'll read the ballot language for you. Shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended so as to provide that the proceeds of excise taxes on the sale of fireworks or consumer fireworks be dedicated to the funding of trauma care, firefighting equipping and training, and local public safety purposes? That's all it says. Well, that sounds good. Why not? We need trauma care and firefighting. They need that. Well, what most voters won't realize when they get to the ballot box is we are creating a problem constitutionally, because I want to read what our Constitution says on this tax revenue issue. Now, this is Article 7, Georgia Constitution, Section 3, Paragraph 2. All revenues collected from taxes, fees, and assessments for state purposes as authorized by revenue measures enacted by the General Assembly is to be paid into the general fund of the state treasury. So why is that a good thing? Well, that allows our elected representatives to look at the budget every year and determine the revenue coming into the state where it best fits the needs of the state at that time. Now, we could have a weather emergency where we need some funds being diverted over here for this purpose, or we maybe see a need over here for a greater need for this purpose. This Amendment 4 is taking all of that excise tax revenue, shifting it over out of the general fund. Will not be available to our elected representatives any longer. It's coming out of the general fund and going to non-elected commissions directly to determine how to send that money out to various groups who will be asking for that money. Now, currently, the money, back in early 2000s, the federal government decided they were going to go outside the U.S. Constitution and send money our way for trauma care. And so the state of Georgia accepted the money, and they decided we need to have a commission of experts in the trauma care industry to determine where's the best need for all this money to go. So the Trauma Care Commission was established at that time. So this is one of the commissions that would be receiving this money directly. And the other is the Georgia Firefighter Standards and Training Council. Now, both of these commissions, the Trauma Care Commission right now is managing trauma care funds that our General Assembly sends to them. It's already happening. But what we want to do now is amend the Constitution so that it is never in the hands of our elected representatives ever again to determine where it's best. And it doesn't matter how large this cash cow is on fireworks sales. It could become such a large amount of revenue that even the Trauma Care Commission is going, well, we've spent all the money we can this year. If we don't spend the rest of it, we won't get it anymore next year, right? So let's buy some big screen TVs for all the fire departments. You know, this is what happens with these kind of situations. Instead of saying, okay, you've got enough money, let's move some money over here, we have this need. That all goes away when we amend the Constitution with this one. Let's keep it as it is right now. Let's keep all tax revenue in the general fund so our elected representatives and not appointed commissioners determine how our tax dollars are spent. And then the last one I want to talk about really was the most problematic for me. And anyone that I read this ballot question to on the Safe Harbor Fund, they all said, well, that sounds like a good idea. These are my conservative constitutional friends. And again, it's deceptive ballot language, and if you don't mind, if you'll indulge me, I want to read this to you. Shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended to allow additional penalties for criminal cases in which a person is adjudged guilty of keeping a place of prostitution, pimping, pandering by compulsion, solicitation of sodomy, masturbation for hire, trafficking of persons for sexual servitude, or sexual exploitation of children, and to allow assessments on adult entertainment establishments to fund the Safe Harbor for Sexually Exploited Children Fund. And listen to this next line. To pay for care and rehabilitative and social services for individuals in this state who have been or may be sexually exploited. But you see in the language, we're expanding sexually exploited to include young people who are participating in sexual activities voluntarily. We're making them victims under this enabling legislation. And then this again also, I mean, the Safe Harbor Fund is another situation of taking taxes. We're going to tax the adult entertainment industry. And a lot of people say, well, so that's good. So bad people. We should tax the stew out of them. It'll cause them to go out of business. Well, when you really look at unintentional consequences, what many people believe is the smaller adult entertainment industry may not be able to pay the fines, which are, by the way, 1% of their annual revenue from the previous year, gross revenue, or a minimum of $5,000, whichever is greater. So what probably we'll see is the smaller businesses who can't afford to pay that fine, they'll start shutting their doors, but so be it for the larger businesses. And there was one I looked up, they have revenue of over $1 million a year, one establishment. They will be able to absorb all those extra customers because we're not going to stop immoral behavior. We know that. As much as we'd like to legislate that, it's not going to stop. We will empower the larger adult entertainment industry. And this is not my opinion. This is the opinion of many people out there. And I kind of go along with it. We'll empower them with more revenue to be able to pay the fine and stay in business. We're not going to stop the problem that this legislation is trying to prevent, and that is our children being sexually exploited in the first place. That legislation was passed in 2011 when our legislature decided to put extra penalties on individuals that are found guilty of these crimes, up to $100,000 fine and longer prison sentences. So now they want to do an extra $2,500 fine on individuals and put it directly into a fund run by the Safe Harbor Commission, another appointed commission that's going to get direct access to tax revenue. No general legislative oversight. So that's 3 non-elected commissions on these 4 referendums. This is a slippery slope we're going down. How does the Soviet Union run their government? Appointed councils primarily, right? So we're going down that slippery slope. Sue Ella Deadweiler also had very interesting comments on this. And most of you know Sue Ella Deadweiler. She's our citizen lobbyist at the state capitol for the last 30 years, and she's the author of Georgia Insight. Well, she sees the definition of victim being changed. So even those young people who are participating voluntarily in sexual activities could now be classified as a victim and qualify for social services, including housing, medical, and other social services. We're expanding the welfare state. We're awarding bad behavior. She finds that problematic. So do I. So for these 3 reasons, unelected council managing direct access to funds, our elected representatives will never have access to this money if we amend our Constitution. It will never go in the general fund. And the change in victim status, these are issues that we need to be really understanding. We don't need to amend our state constitution to create these unauthorized unelected councils. We can help victims directly through our General Assembly, through our elected representatives in the budgetary process, if that's what we want to do. So these are 4 amendments. I do encourage a no vote on all of these, and please share these thoughts with your friends and family who are going to be out there voting. Don't let them show up on election day and be surprised by these 4 constitutional amendments. And whether they agree with me or not, as long as we have our facts in hand, then that's what we need when we go weigh in on this. And individuals, again, if years down the road, every time we have these on the ballot, if you're not familiar with them, vote no, please. Because we can always come back to the legislative process and revisit amending our Constitution. But once it's done, it's done. And so I thank you very much for your time.